The Hargrove estate smells like pine and cinnamon on Christmas Eve, and it has for as long as I can remember, but this year the smell turns my stomach before I'm even through the front door. I stand in the center of the living room with a cream-colored gift box in my hands, silk ribbon perfectly tied, and I cannot stop staring at what's inside. A lifetime VIP membership to an app called Last Chance Love, explicitly marketed to, and I am quoting the tagline here, desperate singles over 30, and underneath it, a hardcover book with raised gold lettering on the cover, How to Find Happiness When You Die Alone. My sister Sienna is watching me open it from her position on the velvet sofa. The sound she makes is high and sharp and entirely calculated. I saw it on TikTok, she says, her voice carrying that particular sweetness she deploys the way some people deploy pepper spray. The reviews were incredible. 5 stars for women who've given up on traditional dating. I don't look up from the box. I keep staring at the pink app card with its cartoon illustration of a wilting flower. A wilting flower. That is their chosen symbol for women like me. Take it, dear. My mother Vivian's voice cuts from the ivory settee where she is sitting with her spine so rigid she could be part of the furniture. Sienna's just worried about your future. Don't let your pride turn you into a spinster forever. My father Gerald says nothing. He stands near the bar cart, swirling bourbon in a crystal tumbler, studying the amber liquid with the focused attention of a man who has decided that selective observation is a personality trait. His business partner, Arthur Calloway, shifts in the leather armchair beside him with the particular discomfort of a man who knows he is witnessing something he should not be witnessing. Arthur's son Elliot, Sienna's fiancé, has produced his phone from somewhere and is examining it with sudden, intense focus. I close the box. Slowly. My hands don't shake, although something inside my chest feels like it is completing a fracture that started years ago. 8 months. That is how long I have been sitting with this. 8 months since I spent 3 evenings at my dining table in Portland selecting cardstock with a 300-gram weight, the kind that conveys quality simply by existing in your hands. Since I tied velvet ribbons by hand around 4 ivory envelopes. Since Julian had leaned in the doorway watching me work, his arms crossed, his expression doing that thing it does when he is being careful with his words. Are you sure you don't want to call them? He'd asked. I'd smoothed another ribbon, my fingers finding the center crease. They're my parents. They wouldn't miss this. The memory settles in my throat like something swallowed wrong. I had delayed the ceremony for 30 minutes on our wedding day, staring at 2 empty chairs in the front row. Reserved for Mom, reserved for Dad. Signs I had painted myself on small wooden plaques and decorated with wildflowers because my mother had mentioned, once, 7 years ago, that she liked daisies. I remember that. I remember everything they forgot. Aren't you going to say thank you? Sienna leans forward on the sofa, her blonde hair arranged over one shoulder with the precision of someone who has studied her own angles. Her engagement ring catches the firelight, a 3-carat diamond that cost more than my entire wedding. The words stick in my throat. Part of me wants to scream. Part of me wants to run through those massive oak doors and drive to the airport and fly home to Portland where Julian is probably heating up leftover soup and checking his phone to see if I am okay. I have done that run before. Driven away from this house with tears in my eyes and a hollow feeling in my chest, telling myself that next time would be different. That next time I would be more prepared. That next time I would finally stop hoping for something this family had decided, long before I was old enough to understand, they were not going to give me. But I am tired. Tired of running. Tired of returning. Tired of the particular exhaustion of being the child in a family who exists primarily as a contrast to make the other child shine brighter. Harrison Calloway, Arthur, I correct myself, clears his throat. Perhaps we should move on to dinner. His voice carries the careful neutrality of a man trying to steer a boat that is already taking on water. I believe the caterers have everything ready. Sienna's smirk widens. She knows she has won this round. She always does, in the small everyday battles that make up the geography of being her sister. Except something inside me doesn't break this time. It snaps. Not my heart, which has been accumulating damage in this house since I was old enough to understand that some children are cherished and others are managed. Something harder than my heart. The long chain of hoping I have been dragging behind me for 29 years, the one labeled good daughter and second best and maybe if you just try harder, maybe this time. I feel it reach its end. I look up. My eyes find Sienna's. I watch her triumphant expression shift just slightly, a fraction of uncertainty crossing her face. She is recognizing something in mine that she has not seen before. Something cold and clean and arrived at, finally, after a very long journey. Thank you, Sienna, I say. My voice comes out smooth. Almost pleasant. I tuck the box under my arm like evidence. Because that is exactly what it is. If you have ever been the child in your family who was managed rather than loved, who existed primarily to make someone else's shine look brighter, hit that like button right now. And tell me in the comments where you are watching from. Because this story is for you. My name is Mara. I am 29 years old, and I am an architect, licensed, Lead project, client-facing. I design buildings that will stand in cities for 100 years, and my family has spent most of my adult life describing my career as playing with plants. I specialize in landscape integrated architecture. My parents heard landscape and stopped listening to them. I am the daughter who tinkers with gardens while Sienna, a lifestyle influencer with 2 million followers and a brand deal with a luggage company, does something real. Sienna is 4 years younger than me. Growing up, the math of our household was simple. She was the asset, I was the overhead. Not in a dramatic, fairy tale villain fashion, no one locked me in a tower. Just in the quiet, cumulative manner that shapes a person without leaving obvious marks. Sienna's school photos were framed throughout the house. Mine were kept in an album in a cabinet. Sienna got a BMW for her 16th birthday. I received the keys to a 10-year-old Honda my father's secretary had traded in, with a card that said, "Independence is a gift." I moved to Portland at 22 for graduate school. I built a life there. I met Julian, a senior cybersecurity analyst, who understood within our second conversation that I had complicated family terrain and accepted this without making it a project. We dated for 2 years, got engaged, planned a wedding. A vineyard 40 minutes outside the city, 100 guests, wildflowers, and honest food and dancing that went later than any of us planned. I sent the invitations in February, FedEx overnight, tracking confirmation, 4 velvet ribbon envelopes. I watched the tracking update all the way to delivered. No one called. I gave it 2 weeks, then 3. I emailed. I called my mother's cell and got voicemail. I called the house line and got my father, who said they had received a lot of mail and he would have Vivian check her inbox. The wedding approached. I delayed sending the final guest count to the venue twice. On the morning of the ceremony, 2 chairs sat empty in the front row with their painted plaques and their wildflowers. I looked at those chairs for 30 minutes. Then I got married anyway, because Julian was standing at the end of the aisle with an expression that made it very clear he was exactly where he wanted to be. That was enough. More than enough. But the chairs were still empty. That part did not stop being true. 8 months later, here I am, holding a gift box with a wilting flower on it. I think about the girl who painted those plaques because she remembered her mother liked daisies. She is still here, standing just behind my sternum, still hoping this time will be different. Tonight, she finally gets her answer. The dining room chandelier throws diamond patterns across the white linen tablecloth. Vivian taps her spoon against her crystal water glass, and the sound cuts through the room like a note struck too hard. Before we begin, she announces, "I want to toast this very special season, the year of the bride." Sienna straightens in her chair. Her practiced smile blooms on cue. My youngest daughter, Vivian continues, will be married this February. 300 guests. The ballroom at the Four Seasons. A dress that took 6 months to design. Elliot shifts beside Sienna. His jaw tightens in a way I file away without showing. Arthur studies his salad fork. Sienna has always known how to do things properly. The word properly lands on my skin like a flicked finger. A small, precise calibration of pain. My father lifts his bourbon in agreement. He has not looked at me since we sat down. Vivian sets her glass down with a delicate click. Her gaze moves to me. Sienna is settled. Her voice takes on the manufactured concern she uses for topics she finds convenient. But what about you, Mara? You're approaching 30. You can't plan to live alone with your work forever, can you? The table goes quiet. Even the catering staff refilling water glasses near the sideboard seem to pause. When is it your turn? The question hangs over the table like smoke. I feel Elliot's eyes flick toward me, then away. Arthur clears his throat. Sienna leans forward a fraction, her fingers curling around her wine stem, waiting for me to crumble. To stammer. To make some apologetic noise about being focused on my career, about not having found the right situation yet, about coming around to it eventually, about being fine, being absolutely fine, always fine. I set my silverware down. The clink of metal against porcelain sounds louder than it should. I'm not single, mother. The words come out calm, conversational. As if I am noting that it looks like snow later. Vivian blinks. Excuse me. I've been married for 8 months. My mother's face goes through 3 distinct expressions in rapid sequence. Confusion. Disbelief. Then something hotter than either. Liar. The word comes out before she can stop it. Her hand hits the table. The silverware rattles. Why would no one know about this? You secretly eloped somewhere, didn't you? Is that why you've been so distant? I didn't elope anywhere. Sienna recovers with the speed of someone who has spent years practicing recovery. Her face rearranges itself into injured innocence. Are you making up stories to ruin my engagement party? She turns to Elliot. Can you believe this? I've always been the jealous one, she says, her voice hitting that perfect pitch of wounded disbelief. But this is something else entirely. Elliot is looking at me. His attorney's brain is running behind his eyes, calculating things I cannot quite read from across the table. I sent invitations, I say. My voice hasn't changed pitch. I sound almost detached, which is strange because my heart is hammering against my ribs, via FedEx overnight. In February, my father's glass hits the table hard enough that bourbon sloshes over the rim. If you sent invitations and got no reply, why didn't you follow up? Why didn't you call? His face is flushing, the vein at his temple rising. You did this on purpose. To embarrass this family in front of the Callaways. And there it is, the thing I had been approaching for 8 months without letting myself see it directly. Like walking toward a window in a dark room and finally getting close enough to realize there's nothing on the other side. They didn't forget. They are telling me, right now, in front of witnesses, with complete conviction, that this is my fault, that I staged my own abandonment, that I should have chased them down for acknowledgement of a wedding invitation they had every opportunity to respond to, and that my failure to chase is the true offense here. They are rewriting history in real time, in front of Arthur and Elliot Callaway, and they believe they can make it stick. The last thread of hope I had been holding, the one I didn't even know I was still carrying, thin and fraying and sustained by nothing except the stubborn persistence of wanting parents, dissolves completely. Something shifts in my chest. The architect takes over. The part of me that reads blueprints and calculates load-bearing walls and understands exactly where pressure needs to be applied for a structure to fail. Under the table, hidden by the white linen, I slide my phone from my clutch. I find Julian's message thread. I type one word. Now. The message shows delivered. Then read. I put the phone away and pick up my fork and spear a piece of asparagus like nothing has happened. I need to tell you something about this house. Something my family had entirely forgotten. I designed the electrical system. 2 years out of graduate school, when my parents undertook a full smart home renovation, they hired me. Family discount rates made the budget work. I spent 4 months on the project. I installed every smart system, every sensor, every camera. I wrote the 40-page operational manual. I recommended, in writing, twice, that they change the master admin password after handoff. They never did. The security system backs up to a professional NVR unit in the wine cellar, physical hard drives, professional grade, 2-year retention. Not cloud storage that clears itself after 90 days. The cameras cover the front door, the side entrance, and the full driveway. All disclosed. My parents signed every page of the documentation. Julian had remote access since installation. I was the administrator of record and had granted it to my own devices. His laptop in Portland, 2,000 miles away, could reach this system as clearly as if he were sitting in the wine cellar himself. I had built this house's nervous system. I was still the one with the keys. Caroline, my mother begins, her voice sharpening. Stop this and apologize to your sister. For what? I take another bite. It tastes like nothing. For getting married. For inviting my family. Which part needs the apology? Sienna's eyes fill with tears, positioned right on the edge where they catch the light without falling. She is good at this, extraordinarily good, actually. Then prove it, my father snaps. If you sent invitations, prove it. I meet his gaze across the table. Okay. Arthur Callaway shifts in his seat with the energy of a man calculating his exit options. Elliot has gone very still. The chandelier above catches on my wedding band. I have been wearing it this entire evening and no one noticed until this moment. My phone buzzes once against my thigh. A text from Julian. System accessed. Ready when you are. I stand up from the table. Actually, I say, I think we should skip dessert tonight. There is something everyone needs to see. I walk toward the 85-inch smart TV mounted above the fireplace in the adjoining sitting room, currently displaying a digital fire log that mirrors the real fire burning beneath it. My heels on the hardwood floor make a sound I feel in my sternum. Mara, sit down. My mother's voice goes to its sharpest register. The one that used to make me shrink into myself, desperate to take up less space. Not tonight. I stop in front of the TV with my back to the room. You have always believed Sienna unconditionally. My voice comes out almost conversational. But you forgot what my husband does for a living. Silence. I turn around. Nathaniel, Julian Vance. Senior cybersecurity analyst. His firm protects Fortune 500 companies from data breaches. He works in systems. He understands them the way I understand structures, and he had full, legal, documented access to yours. Vivian's mouth opens, closes. I pull my phone from my clutch and hold it up so they can see the screen. One word glows there. Now. Sent 19 minutes ago. Delivered. Read. The TV behind me flickers. Sienna's head snaps up. Her tears evaporate. The virtual fire log cuts out. The screen goes dark for exactly 2 seconds, then it illuminates again, displaying a desktop. Blue background. Neat rows of folders. In the corner, in small white text, remote access activated. What is this? Gerald's voice has gone hard. Turn that off. I designed the electrical system for this house, I say. Did you know that? You hired me 2 years out of grad school. I installed every smart system, every camera, every sensor. I turned back to the screen and watched the cursor begin to move without anyone in this room touching anything. The admin password was never changed. I recommended changing it, in writing. Twice. I sent those emails. I have the receipts. Arthur Callaway leans forward. His expression has moved from discomfort to something more focused. Elliot has gone very still beside Sienna, his attorney's mind clearly working through implications at speed. This is illegal. Sienna's voice pitches up. No. I keep my tone level. I am the system administrator on record. I have full legal access. Julian is helping me retrieve my own files. Vivian stands. Her chair pushes back. Files. What files? The cursor moves to a folder. The label on it is 2 words, and the moment Sienna reads them, she gasps. Project Truth. When you dismissed my career as playing with plants, I say quietly, you forgot that architects plan 3 steps ahead. We build systems meant to outlast us. We account for failure modes before they occur. My father's face has gone red. You had no right to install cameras in this home without telling us. I told you. My voice stays level. I gave you a 40-page manual. You signed every page. There is a camera at the front door, one at the side entrance, one covering the driveway. All disclosed. All legal. All recording to a professional NVR system in your wine cellar. Physical hard drives. 2-year retention. I watch the color leave Sienna's face. She is doing the math. Counting backward through 8 months. You're bluffing, she says, barely audible. I turn back to the screen. Do you remember February 12th, Sienna? Stop it. It was a Tuesday. Cold. You were wearing your cream cashmere coat. Mom. Sienna's voice rises. Make her stop. The FedEx truck arrived at 10:15 in the morning. The cursor hovers over the folder. I hit enter on my phone. Julian opens the folder from Portland. The first image fills the screen in high definition. A FedEx receipt. Signature line clearly visible. Isabella, Sienna Montgomery. Her distinctive looping handwriting. Date, February 12th. Time, 10:15 a.m. The dining room erupts. Sienna recovers faster than I expected. She always does. Give her credit for that. So what? Her voice has dropped from hysteria to something flatter. I signed for a package. That proves I was home that day. It proves nothing else. Evidence 1, I say, keeping my voice clinical. You signed for a package from Mara and Julian Vance on February 12th, 3 weeks after our wedding invitations were mailed via FedEx overnight. I don't remember every package I signed for. Bella, Sienna, crosses her arms. My brand partnerships alone generate dozens of shipments a week. Vivian straightens, already reaching for this explanation. That's true. Sienna's business requires constant inventory management. She cannot be expected to remember one random delivery from 8 months ago. Julian's cursor moves on the screen. The receipt disappears. It is replaced by a screenshot of an email inbox. My mother's inbox. Evidence 2. The screen shows Vivian's email account settings page. Filters. A long list of them, sorting newsletters and promotional emails into various folders. But one filter sits at the top of the list, flagged. Rule name, wedding block. I read it aloud. If subject contains wedding and Mara, then delete permanently. Skip inbox. Do not archive. The creation date sits in gray text beside it. February 14th, 2 days after the invitations were delivered. This filter was created from an IP address that traces to Sienna's device. I continue. Her phone specifically. The same device she uses to manage her Instagram account. The silence that follows has a physical quality to it. The silence of a trap completing its mechanism. That's not possible. Vivian's voice has lost its performance quality entirely. I never authorized anything like that. Of course you didn't. I meet my mother's eyes. Sienna has had your password for years. Remember when she set up your 2-factor authentication last Christmas? She told you it was for your security. Preston, Elliot, stands slowly from his chair. He is staring at Sienna. You put a filter on your mother's email to delete your sister's messages. I didn't hack anything. Sienna's voice pitches higher. I have access because Mom asked me to help manage her correspondence. She gets overwhelmed. By deleting emails about your sister's wedding. Arthur Callaway's voice cuts through the room. He is no longer the uncomfortable observer. He is engaged. Focused. Sienna stands. Her chair scrapes against the hardwood. Fine, fine, yes. I hid the invitations. I did it to protect Mom and Dad. The room freezes, and I watch it happen, the pivot. I have watched Sienna perform this maneuver my entire life, and I have never yet stopped finding it extraordinary. Her expression shifts from defensive to aggrieved in the space of a breath. Her eyes fill with tears, not the calculated ones from earlier but something that genuinely looks like injured sincerity. You sent those invitations with 3 weeks' notice. Her voice shakes. For some rustic vineyard in Oregon. Dad has high blood pressure. Mom worries about appearances. I saw that venue you chose, Mara. I was afraid. Afraid they'd spend the entire trip stressed about looking out of place. She presses her hand to her chest. So yes, I hid them. I threw them away. I did it out of love. I was trying to protect our parents from embarrassment. Vivian inhales sharply. I watch my mother reach for this new narrative with both hands. Bella, Sienna, I keep correcting myself, protecting her parents. Sacrificing sisterly loyalty out of love. A better story than the true one. A story that puts Sienna back in the role of devoted daughter rather than architect of a deliberate act. You were protecting us, Vivian says. Of course I was. Sienna's voice cracks on cue. Mara has always done things her own way without considering how it reflects on the rest of us. I couldn't let you suffer through something subpar just because she refuses to maintain our standards. In a horrible way, it is brilliant. The malicious act reframed as protective sacrifice, the lie reframed as love. Elliot's frown has deepened. He is not buying it. I can see the doubt written across his face, the quiet set of his jaw. But my parents are already softening. Finding the version of events they want to believe. I don't panic. I don't rage. I don't give Sienna the satisfaction of watching me unravel. I smile. Protecting them, I repeat softly. That's your story. It's the truth. Sienna lifts her chin. Then why, I say, each word placed with care, then why did you throw the invitations in the recycling bin instead of hiding them in a drawer? Sienna blinks. If you were genuinely protecting Mom and Dad, if this was truly about their feelings, you would have stored the invitations somewhere retrievable. Somewhere you could recover them if needed. You would have been careful with them because they would have mattered. I gesture to the screen. But you weren't careful, were you? Elliot turns to Sienna. Did you? I was upset, Sienna says quickly. I wasn't thinking clearly. That's interesting, I say. Because the camera footage suggests you were thinking very clearly indeed. I nod toward the screen. Julian clicks play. The footage is crystal clear. Front door camera, full view of the porch and driveway. Timestamp, February 12, 10:14 a.m. The FedEx truck pulls into frame. The driver rings the bell. Sienna appears 30 seconds later in yoga pants and a cropped hoodie. She smiles at the driver, signs the tablet, accepts the package. The driver leaves. Sienna looks down at the return address label. Her smile disappears. What replaces it is not worry or conflict or the complicated expression of someone making a difficult decision. Something cold takes its place. Something I recognize from a lifetime of being on the receiving end of it, though I have never seen it on camera before. She glances around to check if anyone is watching. Then she walks to the side of the house where the recycling bins sit behind a decorative lattice screen. She doesn't hesitate. She doesn't open the package. She hurls it into the bin with the decisive energy of someone disposing of something offensive. She doesn't look back. She wipes her hands on her pants and walks inside. The video ends. The dining room holds its breath. Even the fire in the hearth seems to pause. Elliot's face has gone very still. Carefully, deliberately blank. The expression of someone watching the structure of something they had invested in begin to fail. There's your protection, I say quietly. There's your love. Preston stands so abruptly his chair scrapes against the hardwood floor. I keep sliding back to the wrong name, because I had known about Elliot for months and had practiced for this evening in Julian's voice, and Elliot stands so abruptly his chair scrapes against the hardwood floor, the sound sharp enough to make Vivian flinch. He stares at Sienna. You threw your sister's wedding invitations in the trash. His voice is quiet, which somehow makes it worse. Because you didn't want to share the spotlight. Sienna reaches for his arm. Elliot, I can explain. He steps back from her touch. You gave her a book about dying alone. He looks at Sienna with an expression I have never seen on a face directed at her before. When you knew she was already married. She tries again. You don't understand. She's always been like this. She's always tried to. I cannot marry someone who would do this. The word he says is not someone. But I am going to give you the substance of the sentence rather than repeat it verbatim, because some words lose their meaning when they're handled too many times. He is calling my sister something that has to do with cruelty, and the word hangs in the dining room air with the weight of a verdict. Sienna's face crumples. Elliot pulls the engagement ring from her finger. The 3-carat diamond catches the chandelier light one last time before he places it on the table with a click that echoes around the room. We're done. Vivian surges to her feet. Elliot, please, don't be hasty. Sienna made a mistake, but surely. A mistake? Elliot's laugh has no warmth in it. Mrs. Hargrove, your daughter committed male tampering. She sabotaged her own sister's wedding. She lied to my face for 8 months. He shakes his head and looks at my mother. I wanted to marry into a family with integrity. I appear to have been mistaken about what I'd find. Arthur Calloway rises from his chair beside my father. His posture has changed completely. He is no longer a guest struggling to navigate an uncomfortable family dinner. He is a businessman in a meeting that has revealed information relevant to his decisions. Richard, he says. Gerald, I keep correcting myself. Gerald, he says my father's name with the weight of 40 years of professional partnership behind it. I have always believed that a man who cannot manage his household reflects in how he manages his business. My father's bourbon glass pauses midway to his mouth. Your daughter is deceitful. Arthur gestures toward Sienna. Your wife enables her. He looks at Vivian, whose mouth opens and closes soundlessly. And you are irresponsible. His gaze settles back on my father. The merger project next month. Consider it cancelled. Sterling, Callaway Group will not do business with the Hargrove family. The words land like something structural giving way. I watch my father's face drain of color. That merger has been his focus for 18 months. The deal that would cement his legacy. $50 million in contracts. A partnership that would double his company's reach. Gone. At his own dinner table. Gerald, my father finds his voice. We can discuss this privately. There is nothing to discuss. Arthur places his hand on Elliot's shoulder. We're leaving. Sienna explodes from her chair. This is your fault. She wheels toward me, and the face she is making is not the practiced expression of an influencer managing her image. This is Sienna without the performance. Sienna at the very bottom of things. You ruined everything. I will destroy you. I will tell everyone what you did tonight, how you manipulated this entire situation. I have 2 million followers. I will. No. The word comes out soft, one syllable. But it stops her mid-sentence. I stand slowly and smooth my dress. You won't. Watch me. Her voice climbs. I have 2 million. Oregon law prohibits secret audio recording without consent. So the video of tonight's dinner stays private. I won't share it publicly. Sienna's expression shifts toward something that looks almost like relief. She thinks she has found a way through. However, I let the word sit for a moment. The security camera footage of you disposing of that FedEx package, that is evidence of a federal crime. Mail tampering. Title 18, United States Code, Section 1708. Up to 5 years in federal prison. If you publish one false statement about me on social media, that footage and a full lawsuit go directly to the police and to every brand sponsor you have. I tilt my head slightly. I wonder how your partners will respond to their ambassador being investigated for federal mail tampering. The color leaves Sienna's face entirely. The sound she makes isn't quite a sob and isn't quite a scream. It's the sound of a structure that has been built on an unstable foundation finally encountering the load it cannot support. My mother sits frozen, hands pressed flat against the tablecloth. My father stares at the wood grain of the table as though it might offer him something. I reach for the cream-colored gift box, the one with the app membership and the cruel book, and pick it up from where I had set it at the beginning of dinner. I carry it around the table. Sienna flinches when I approach. I set the box down directly in front of her, beside Preston's, beside Elliot's, abandoned engagement ring. Keep it, I say. You need it more than I do now. I turn toward the foyer where Arthur and Elliot are already collecting their coats. As I pass Arthur, he gives me a single nod. I don't stop to analyze what it means. Behind me, my mother's voice, thin as paper. Mara, wait. We can fix this. We can. I am already walking through the foyer, past the marble staircase where Sienna and I posed for Christmas photographs as children, dressed in matching outfits my mother chose, smiling matching smiles into a camera pointed at a life that was never quite true. Through the massive oak doors that close behind me with a sound I feel in my sternum. December air hits my face like cold water. Clean. Sharp. My Uber is waiting at the bottom of the circular drive, exhaust puffing white in the freezing air. I climb into the back seat. Logan, Portland International, I say. Sorry. It's been a long evening. The driver glances in the rearview mirror and decides, wisely, not to comment. As we pull away, I allow myself one look back at the Hargrove estate. Every window blazing with light. Beautiful from outside. A perfect shell. I pull out my phone and video call Julian. His face fills the screen. His hair is doing what it does when he has been running his hands through it, which means he has been sitting at his desk watching the remote access feed with the focused intensity he applies to everything. His eyes search mine. Is it done? It's done. His expression does something complicated and then resolves into the simple warmth I have been holding onto all evening like a compass. Your mom's heating up soup, he says. Come home. Home. Not the place I was born. The place I was chosen. Yeah, I say, and my voice only shakes a little. I'm coming home. 3 days later, I am unpacking groceries in our Portland kitchen when the FedEx truck pulls up. Through the window, I watch the driver jog to the porch. Scan a package, jog back to the truck. The box sits there on our welcome mat, square and flat. I know what it is before I open the front door. Inside, a check. $50,000, written in my father's careful, architectural print. A note on his business letterhead, typed and formal. I'm sorry. Please maintain silence about the contract situation. I stand in my kitchen holding $50,000 and I think about the girl who painted those wooden plaques, who reserved those chairs, who delayed a ceremony for 30 minutes, hoping. She is still part of me. I am not going to pretend she isn't. But she is no longer the one making decisions. I tear the check in half, then into quarters, then into pieces small enough that the number is unreadable. I arrange the pieces on the kitchen counter and photograph them. I open the family group chat. 3 contacts, Mom, Dad, Sienna. I type. I don't sell my silence. Consider it a parting gift, offered freely. Do not contact me again. My thumb hovers over send for 3 seconds, then I press it. The message shows delivered. Then read. Someone begins typing, stops, starts again. I don't wait to find out what they'll say. I go to the top of the chat, tap the settings icon, and find the option I have been moving toward for 29 years. Leave group. A confirmation prompt appears. Are you sure? I have never been more sure of anything. Leave. New Year's Eve arrives in Portland wrapped in rain and the smell of Julian's mother's pot roast, which she makes from a recipe that has been in his family for 3 generations and which smells like exactly the kind of permanence I have been building toward for years. His family crowds into their living room, his sister stealing the television remote, his nephew producing a spilled grape juice situation on the carpet, his mother hugging me so tight I feel the brooch on her coat pressing into my shoulder. A real heirloom, passed down with intention rather than obligation. Come on, Julian says, taking my hand. Let's get some air before the fireworks. We step onto the back porch. The city glows below us in the rain, and somewhere across town, the first fireworks of the year are testing the sky. Julian wraps his arm around my waist. I lean into him and breathe in rain and cedar and something else that takes me a moment to identify, because I am not entirely accustomed to it yet. Safety. Any regrets? He asks. I think about the empty chairs, the recycling bin footage, the book about dying alone, the check torn into pieces on my kitchen counter. The group chat I left while my family was still mid-reply. Not one, I say. The first firework breaks open overhead, gold against black. Julian's family cheers from inside. Through the window I can see them raising glasses, pulling each other close. I am not the Hargrove daughter anymore. I am Mara Vance, and I am an architect, and I have spent the last year doing what architects do when they find a structure that has been built wrong from the foundation. I cleared out the rot, removed what couldn't hold weight, and started building something that will actually stand. Something real is growing here. I intend to let it. If any part of this found something in you, if you have ever been the second chair, the managed child, the one who reserved a seat for someone who decided not to come, leave that in the comments.